Alright, I'm going to show you how to make a pair of reversible pants. So, I used to make these little reversible pants. I made them for 15 years, and now you'll find them all up and down the West Coast. I actually had somebody quit their job and start selling them in Boston for a few years. And these are different from what you'll see in lots of different areas because when I first started making these, I didn't know how to sew. And so I made up this pattern. So you can find patterns for reversible pants, but you will not find this way of making them. And I'll show you something that's unique about these. They have this cute little edge right here, so you can see it kind of pokes up. And then it's the same thing here. So it kind of pokes out. So it's kind of like a really cute detail. It takes a little more time, but it's nice. The other thing about these is that there's no front or back, so children can put them on, babies can put them on, little kids can put them on. And they're wide enough so that they fit over shoes, which is really nice when you need to change the pants around because you've been at the park and you're going to go visit grandma and you want to turn them inside out and you don't want to have to take off their shoes. Alright, so here we go. So I used to use conversation prints. Today maybe what's more popular is more of the graphics. I usually use gray thread. But you can use any kind of color. I have many colors of thread and a whole drawer of thread. So the first thing that you do is you choose your fabrics and you want them to kind of look nice together. These aren't really the greatest combination, but it's what I have. So I'm going to make a pair that's for a medium. So I have them in 4 different sizes: extra small for infants, small for babies, medium 1 to 2, and large, so 3 to 4. And because they're kind of big, they fit over, and blousey, they fit over. So medium is 22 inches. So I go ahead and take this, and because fabric is on a grain, I can go ahead and put that like this, cut it, and rip it. That's one side. Do the same thing for the next side. 22 inches again. Cut it. Something about your scissors: do not let anybody use your scissors for anything. They are your scissors, they're expensive. Once they're ever used for paper, they're never the same again. Do not use your scissors for anything but fabric. Okay, so I have my 2 pieces of fabric, 22 inches and 20 by 22 inches. I take them, put them together, and I fold them over. Now look, I have this edge right here that's folded over, and then these edges that are, you know, the open edges. It's not even throughout here. That's okay. I'm going to lose some, and then I have the folds here. Sometimes the fabric's like way off, so you can see like it's kind of far off here, and sometimes I'll take that and sort of adjust it. I'm not a precise person, so if you're really precise, you might want to iron it or something like that. I've got some little inadequacy here, so I'll kind of adjust it here so it's not, you know, it doesn't have folds in there and then end up with all kinds of problems. So it's nice when you have higher quality fabric, but I usually use higher quality fabric on the outside and lesser quality fabric on the inside, knowing I'm going to have some of these problems. Okay, so now how do you cut it? I mentioned that these have no front or back, so usually pants, when you look at them, they'll have this little curve, which is why they fit. They'll have a big curve for the front and a little curve like this for the back. And these don't have any curve at all. And that's what makes them blousey, and that's one of the reasons that they fit so great over diapers. So how do you cut it? You just cut this, let's see, I have the sewing machine. So I usually do it about halfway through because kids are kind of portioned differently than adults. So I start here. I'm not using the best situation. Remember, these are my edges here that are open, and then these are closed. So I'm going to do it about halfway through, so that's about 11 inches. Maybe I'll give myself a little bit extra for the seam. And then I've done this so many times. I've made these pants like, I don't know, I've made over 100,000 pair of these pants. So I'm just going to go like this. Go to about, I think I'll go to about 10. That's what I cut out. I can use this for quilts, or you can use this, like, turn this into a little square and then sew it on a little t-shirt like that, and then you have a little matching t-shirt, but I'm not going to do it. Now, I have this left, so take my scissors, sharp, run them along here. See, I just ran them through there, right? Even lower quality fabric, you can do this. Some fabrics you can't do this, so like if you have rayon, it's harder to do this. Rayon is really soft, but it also slides around and it's kind of difficult to use. Okay, now I'll open up and one side of pants on the outside and the other side. See, it's got that little thing. Okay, now what I used to do is I had a serger, but I'm just going to use a sewing machine. I used to serge the inside, but now I'm just going to sew the inside. So now we're going to sew. I have black thread on here. I mentioned earlier that I like to use gray because it goes with anything, but sometimes when I would make these I would kind of get imaginative and use different colors, like this pair that I showed you. It has red thread. So you probably want to use one color on both sides because you're going to do kind of an inside-outside thing. These are the scissors that I use when I'm at the sewing machine. Now, with the serger and with the sewing machine, go ahead and get those even. Decide on whatever it is that you're going to be doing for your, you know, your hem time. So I'm going to start like right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and open it up, close it. So I'm going to do this 4 times for one pair of pants. You're going to need to learn how to really manage your sewing machine, and it's really good if you're going to use just a regular sewing machine, go ahead and get the policy that they will clean it and maintain it for you, so whatever it is, $100 or $200, so that you have that. And what kind of sewing machine you use, it's worth investing in a good one that you like and that works well for you. So for years I used a Singer, and it was fine. And then I got an industrial sewing machine. But I still used my Singer for different things. So now look, I have my different parts. And I did this other piece when I was off, so I pick up the different parts. So now I take, oh, this didn't sew all the way in here, so let me sew that. Okay, so I take this and I open it up. So let's see, I open that up and then do the same thing on this side. Open it up, and then I marry them right there at the crotch, the crux of the crotch. And then this, of course, is going to be the top, and then there's the top here. So now I'm going to do this inside seam. So that's this seam right here. Right. See, it's sewn all the way around, right? That's that seam. So here we go. I'm going to do that on both sides. All right. Okay, see, I have this like little bit of white edge right here. So I want to make sure that I don't have that in the pants. So I sew over that. I mean, not over it, but beyond it. I'm not too worried about whether I have the 2 pants perfectly in terms of how big they are here. I'm not too worried about that, but I am going to make sure that I don't have that white showing, because that's not going to look good. So I take this and I just lay it out flat. I'll show you in a minute how to do it again. Okay, so the same thing with this pair of pants. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Some people are really precise. I'm not. I'm not too worried about all these threads all over the place. I open them up. Open them up again. All right. Oh, this one. The sewing machine probably needs to be conditioned. I should probably take it in. All right. Open that up. You want to clean your sewing machine pretty often too, but yeah, this one again. And you can get a little blower. It's like a little aerosol thing that you get. Okay, here we're going to match this up. Here. And here we go. It's a bunch of threads. I don't want to sew those in there. Now I'm making sure that my two pieces that are in the crotch are matching up. I do like those to match up. I don't like it when they're kind of off. So that's my... And then sometimes you have to be a little careful because you've got this seam in there. You don't want to have it all bunched up. So make sure that you spend a little time when you're going through here. Alright, almost to finish what I think of as the second step. The first step is cutting. The second step is, is cutting and then folding your pants so that you can get them going, and then the second step is sewing them in. This sewing machine, I'm not happy with it, but we're going to keep going. So now, move the sewing machine this way, move this back again. So now I take my pants. I want this one for the outside, so I put it down flat here, and then I put this one flat on top of it. You see? And now I open up the outside. What's going to be the outside. So open that up, reach my hand in, and flip it. Reach my hand in. Okay, onwards. So I want to just make sure that the seams that I did are okay. I pull them a little bit, they're okay. Alright, so I'll start over again because I had to fix that one little thing, and I swapped out sewing machines. I happen to have a couple of sewing machines because my partner and I, we both like to sew. And he likes to sew really heavy duty stuff, so we have FAFs. But I used to use a really nice Singer. Alright, here we go. Put this back on top of here. Line them up. Get stuff out of the way. And reach in. And pull it out. Reach in. And pull it out. And then just give it a little shake. And it's nicely lined up. Okay, so now here's the part where you make that little edge thing, okay? So my pins, and you can have all kinds of pins. I like to have longer pins. It's just easier, and then bigger. I prefer the bigger heads like this. These are smaller, they have the little white heads. Don't get the kind that are like the traditional pins with the silver tops on them. That will drive you crazy. And then have a pin bowl. This one's magnetic. I've dropped it, so it's broken, but it still works. So, yeah, you're going to need your own area for pinning because you're going to drop pins. So anyway, take your pants, fold them in two, get the top kind of lined up like that, and bring this down. You can kind of feel if any fabric isn't lined up. So this is where it's nice that these cuffs are about the same. The top you don't need to worry about so much. The cuffs are about the same. And you've held this here. And I usually do this on my lap, so it's a little awkward here. So I go ahead and I make sure that they're all nicely lined up. This is all lined up. This is important, otherwise you're going to have pants that have uneven legs. Then take this one, fold this under. So I folded that under there. And then this one is still sticking out. You can see I've got my elbow here, which I don't usually do it, I do it on my lap. So I've got like my elbow on my leg, and then I fold this under here. And leave a little bit out. See, I folded it under like that, and then left a little bit out. And then I stick my first pin in right there when I've done that. This is a batik, so it's a little tougher to stick a pin in. And then, oh, I lost my fold. Not uncommon. I just go back to where it was, and then, which I know because it's kind of, it keeps it even, about the same. See how I did that? I kind of brought it out to the other dimension there like that. And then I'll go ahead and I'll stick my pin in here. Ouch. You get used to being pricked by pins. And then I do it again on the other. So now I have 4 pins in. Sometimes when, like if you cut them too close and you want to keep it longer, you'll put a whole bunch of pins in, but in general, it's just 4 pins. So now this one is pinned, but this one is not. So once again, line it up here. Bring it out to like this, and then fold it over, the other leg over to match this one. Okay, so I fold it over to match this one, and then pull this out a little bit and fold this over so I know it's kind of even. And then push that down, and then go ahead and do the same thing you did before. I like to line up. I like to start at the inside seam and line those up, line those inside seams up. There and there. And then put the pin there where the seams are lined up, right next to it. And then, you know, I lose that again, right? But it doesn't matter because I've got my starting point, and I can go ahead and pull it out again. Kind of use tension a little bit. There we go. All right, look. This is a good example of what to do when you have a little bit too much fabric on the inside of one of them. It's like kind of buzzing out. So go ahead and finish up along here. So finish up there. I have my 4 pins in now, but I have this extra fabric here. See that? So you can go ahead and take it all apart and redo it, or these are kids' pants, so you know they're just about being used. They're not about making something perfect, right? So I just folded that. There'll just be a little extra fold there. And then I fold that here. Make sure it all matches up. It's all matched up now. Get my pin again. And then put it in. So yeah, there's a little extra fabric there. Remember when I showed you how the fabric didn't like totally line up when we were cutting it? Alright, so now I just want to make sure that it's all like even, like it's not like, okay, see that's even. Good. So now I usually just on my lap, open it up, kind of shake it out, make sure it's flat. Start at one seam, and you do the same thing again. So this one has, oh, I forgot to put this pin in. So this one has the black and green fabric is on the outside, right? It's kind of the detail because this is the outside fabric and that's going to be the inside fabric because it's when we feature it. So we do the same thing. We take this and we fold the inside down now, and then we fold the outside down. So we actually have quite a bit of fabric that we're folding down. The inside down, you see that? And the outside down. So that we end up with some nice detail here. And we have it flat out. You can do it on your lap, I prefer to. And then you do the same thing on the other side. So you fold it at the same, it's the same thing. Same distance. So you're folding that down, not the same amount, but so that it matches up. And then fold the outside down. So I folded that inside. That's the other one, but then I fold this inside down so that it matches to the other side, and fold that outside down so it matches. So now that we have that detail again, I did it wrong there. So detail is, and we put the pin in. The pin's in there. Okay, now kind of straighten it, and then you just go ahead and you can just go ahead and pick it up. And I'll put a pin in there, using tension again like we did with the legs. I'll put a pin in there. You know, when you first start to do this, you're probably going to want to use more pins. Make sure you don't drop any pins inside the pants. But as you get used to it, and depending on your fabric, you'll be able to use less pins. So, and then I put a pin in there. All right. So now I can just go ahead and check them again, open them up, turn them around, make sure that they're even enough. They're not like two, like one long leg, one short leg, a bunch of threads in there. So what? Put them on the floor. All right, now we're ready to sew them again. So that was the third step. So we're going to sew them now. All right. So close the door. All right, let's sew them again. All right, so I changed the sewing machine. So now I have a white, light blue thread. That's okay, you'll be able to see. Okay, so here's my pin thing, so I can just go ahead and throw pins on there. There's my scissors that I like to use, really good scissors. Hopefully the sewing machine works better. Put it down, and now I sew. Sounds better. You'll get to know your sewing machine by how it sounds, just like to get to know what's going on with your baby by how he sounds or how she sounds. There we go. Just sewing around. Close, pretty close to that edge. It kind of makes a nice detail when you're close. And you'll figure out where the best place for your pins is. And then I go over it just a little bit. And I don't go backwards and forwards, I just go over it a little bit. Just clip, clip. And you can do, I mean, if you want to, you can just like clip it off and then have another step where you go and do all your trimming, but I'm just doing it now here. So now you can see how I sewed over it there, and you can see how we have that nice detail. It's pretty nice. When I finish it, I'll cuff it. You won't be able to see the detail, but it looks pretty. Same thing on the other end. I start on the inside always, pinning and sewing. Remember, I have that funny little extra fabric there, so I start on the outside of that. There. Sewing machine's not liking all that fabric. Your sewing machine will like certain fabric, it won't like other fabric. You'll have to change your needles around. If you've got rayon or silk, God, if you ever use silk, you're going to need special needles. I lift up my foot because that got bunched in there. So I put my foot back down. You can't sew without your foot down. Something's happening here. There, got bunched. There's a needle pin in there. That's what it is. Pin is in my tread thing. Just take it out. There, I got it out. I don't like those little head pins. They're a pain in the butt. Okay, so I had to take my needle out, so I'm going to put it back where it was and then keep going. Pull that one out. Keep going. I'm going to go ahead and trim these threads here because they're kind of bugging me. But if I were like really in production mode, I wouldn't. And I just throw my threads on the floor. I'll vacuum them later. then I'm going to finish this up. This gave me a little trouble earlier. You're going to see where it gave me trouble and what I did about it, and if I want to change it or not. So you can see where that gave me trouble. Do I want to change it? I don't care. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing up here. You can change it if you want. You can take the threads out. And you know what? The first times that you make this stuff, you'll make that kind of mistake often. And then you'll make them throughout the times that you make them, and then you decide like how precise you're going to be. So now I'm going to start right there. I've never been very precise in what I do. I actually like to keep my pins over here because I can just throw them over there kind of. And I used to have them in a bowl, now I have that thing. So, oh, I started a little bit outside of the hem. So on the other side of the hem. So now I'm going around on the top of it, sewing it down, right? And we go all the way around. And I'm keeping track with my fingers as I'm going around. So I don't know if you can see that, but I've got my fingers. It's sort of inside here. When I get to this pin here, I've got a little extra fabric right here. I can tell that from the tension. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it right here. I'm going to fold that fabric. See that? A little fold. And it's going to be fine because it bunches. It's all bunchy. Keep going. Now, I'm coming along to where I started. Do I have any extra fabric here? I can take the pin out. I'm coming along to where I started. Nope, I don't have any extra fabric. I'm going to leave this much open. Don't close it up. I'm going to leave about 2 inches open, 1.5 inches. Alright, so I left about 2 inches open. And your scissors are nice and sharp because nobody's used them on paper. And that way you can just shear it. You don't have to like do this thing, you can just go and that's one reason, because after you've made 10 or 100 or 100,000 of these like I have, every single time you close that scissor, it's another little bit of stress on your hand. So you want those scissors to be really sharp. Okay, now look, we have this open. Are we done? No, we've got one more seam. So I like to use either 3/4 or 1 inch stiff elastic. I do not like the soft elastic that will allow for bends. This is nice stiff elastic. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew the casing for that, right? So it's about like this. You don't have to be really precise here if you're like me, if you like to be super precise, but you want to give enough room because we're going to thread the elastic, so we want to give enough room. So I'm going to like sew right along there. That's going to be my starting point. So I go ahead and put it on, and actually what I used to use the where the plate is. So there's like this little plate right here where it you know, the plate ends. So I'm going to go ahead, foots down. This one we do close. We go all the way around. And if you'll notice that like if you have bunches that it'll actually kind of be more open here, so you don't have to like do the little bunches. But you do want to keep everything straight, because if it gets misaligned, then it'll be all weird and crooked, and that's no good. You'll have to take the whole seam out. So even though I'm not a very precise person, there are certain things that you just can't let yourself get away with. Go ahead and cut your seam here if you want to. It's going to be easier. Or what I used to do when I made hundreds of these a week is I would make that step of cutting all my threads. So anyway, but I'm doing it here. All right, so now we have, our pants without the elastic. So now we're going to cut the elastic. All right, so 18 inches is what I like to use for the medium. My kid scissors. Ta-da! Didn't mess up my good scissors. And this is the pin that I like to use. It's a diaper pin. And I haven't found, there's like, you can get elastic threaders and stuff, but I haven't found anything better than diaper pin because it has this, and my favorite is the duck head diaper pin, but I don't know what happened to my duck head diaper pin, so I just use the regular one. But I really like the duck head diaper pins. Nobody uses diapers with diaper pins anymore, so you might have to search for them. Remember that hole that we had? And remember that we started on one side, so I'm going to go ahead and start at the seam side. That way I don't have to, and it's nice and big, so it's not going to take me much to get this through. Don't make it go all the way through so you lose your end. Okay, you'll probably do that a couple times. You get pushing it and then making sure, and then keep going. Make sure it doesn't go to the end. If you use a regular safety pin, it'll be painful because it'll kind of chomp on your fingers. I pushed it through there a little bit, right? You kind of have to use a little bit of hand strength. And on the other end, going through. There we go. Not twisted. The elastic is not twisted inside there, because if it is, then you have to go through, and you can kind of make sure. Yeah, not twisted. Okay, now sew it up. Needles do not like elastic, but we're going to make it do it anyway. If you're going to do like a bunch of these at the same time, just maybe put a thicker needle in for your elastic. One, back, forward, back. That's going to be enough. You know what? That'll be plenty, and you could even just do 3. And the nice thing about this is that, you know, if somebody decides that they want them tighter, or there's some extra thread, they want them tighter or looser, then you'll be able to open it up and make them tighter or looser, or they can. Okay, remember that hole? Well, we need to fix it up. Sew it up. And trim. Trim. Good enough. A little extra thread. I don't charge extra for the extra thread. Blouse it out. So it's bloused out. For a little one, they'll be able to put it on themselves, and nice wide here. They can roll these up. Maybe they're smaller people, then we can roll them up twice if we want. Roll them up once, roll them up twice to make them sort of like little, for a littler person. Like a 9-month-old, 1-year-old, roll them down for a 1-year-old, and then they grow even more, and they're 2 and they want to keep wearing them. And I've even seen like a 7-year-old. This is the large one. I saw the 7-year-old once wearing them as shorts. It was really cute. So that's how you make reversible pants. And I will say last that once you have made 100 of them, sun is funny on me. Once you've made 100 of them, it's going to be really easy. The first 100, it's learning how to do it. So don't get frustrated. And the amount of time that it's going to take you to make the first few, it's just learning time. Don't worry about the time. Once you've made 100, then you know how long it takes you to make them, and then you can start figuring out how much you need to charge for your time. But until you've made 100, you don't know. All right, good luck.